do a WWE and just like grab it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pick up the bale of hay and throw it at me.
Yeah, we've got some chairs if you want to like go start swinging them about.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, cool. Sweet. Hello and welcome to Serpent Temple. I'm here with Bellwitch. Please introduce yourselves for the camera.
Jesse Schreibman.
Dylan Desmond.
Thank you so much for your time today. I know you've just rushed in from America, not Russia. That's a throwback to a joke that none of you would have heard. We're going to do a Psycard reading today. We'll pull 3 cards, one for the past, one for the present, and one for the future. There is a bee in here as well to make it more stressful for you.
There's a bee in our bonnet.
Yes.
Bewitched.
Oh! Oh, shit, no one would have heard that. We're doing so well already. Shall we pull the first card for the past? Who wants to go for it?
I got the warrior.
The warrior. There's the bee. All right. I hope you guys are okay with bees slash wasps.
Is it weird to use a warrior card to wave a bee off of my face?
That's what the card does. I have a book of descriptions. I'm gonna read you a description, and you can tell me if it makes you think or feel a certain way, or if it doesn't. So, what number is the warrior?
28.
28. One of my favorite numbers. Okay. Bear with me. The book is very small. Okay, the warrior. A warrior is seen in all his pride in full armor against the background of a medieval castle with a sword drawn but at rest. This card stands for the hero who rescues his princess, the knight in shining armor of the fairy stories. He's an embodiment of the masculine virtue of strength and courage, but one aspect can be the reverse. As with the beauty, he can be vengeful, quarrelsome, aggressive, and the typical male chauvinist pig.
Oh, you've pretty much described my entire life, start to finish of that, so, you know.
It's an interesting card. I think masculinity is, like, very much at the core of this kind of music, right? It's very, like, typically male, aggressive, and yet at the same time deeply poetic, too.
Sure. My wheels are turning here.
Take your time, there's no rush.
I guess the... I mean, if we were to categorize things with masculine or feminine traits, which, I don't know, like, I guess Jung would probably say there are poles there and that there is a masculine and a feminine into each of those poles, but I don't know if I would fully agree with that. I would say that's very blurry and maybe due to our societal perceptions more so than our... I mean, I don't have a degree in psychology, so I have no idea. But I would say that's more due to our societal perceptions than to any sort of subconscious... anything that's unwavering about our subconscious that would be consistent between all humans in all corners of the world. That said, I think the warrior could be just as easily represented from the feminine perspective as much as it could from the male perspective. Maybe not so much on the card, but yeah. Am I answering the question or am I just rambling?
The whole point is that there is no question. Don't worry.
Oh.
I would say maybe part of what I'm maybe understanding from what you're saying is that we've transcended the idea of like masculine, feminine. Maybe we don't need those terms to describe what we do.
Sure. I mean, I guess they kind of serve as good. They simplify things, make it kind of easier to get to the point about certain things sometimes. So it's functional.
What do you think?
I think that in general. I think that I guess when you mentioned the sort of that this music specifically has a lot of like male aggression, I believe is kind of how it was put. I think what's interesting, at least I feel like as time is progressing and sort of as those lines are blurring, you know, decades go by, what's interesting is I do feel like people who identify as male are now starting to maybe have a little bit more freedom to sort of accept those feelings a little bit more, which I think is cool. And I think that, like, I'm just gonna say it because it fits too well. Last night when we were setting up, I heard these dudes look at each other and say, "If you don't fucking cry tonight, you're a fucking pussy."
Yes!
And
It's true.
I cracked up.
That's very 2023.
I was like setting up my drums, and I was just like, "That's hilarious." And I think they were probably like 18. They were pretty young. And so what's interesting to me is that at least in our generation, like, it wouldn't have been acceptable at all.
Yeah.
I don't think, to be like, we're gonna like cry at this show together, bro. And I think that that's cool, and it shows, you know, that it is transcending a bit more. People are feeling a little more comfortable. But also, I don't think that, like, kind of jumping on what he was saying, like, you know, women or whatever, the spectrum across, everyone are their own warriors. Everyone's got their own battles to fight. Everyone's, you know, that's a universal quality, I think, in human life, is sort of fighting the battles that one feels are necessary to fight. And I think that picking one's battles make you a really good warrior.
Yeah, that's amazing. Powerful stuff.
Yeah, and like working off that same idea, I think that if we were to use just the functional kind of easy gender poles and apply that to music and say, like, maybe the masculine hero or the warrior or the feminine warrior, I think we could definitely say that historically, as we were saying before, heavy metal has been very male-centric, and that's changing. And I think that's a really cool enrichment of it, because there's this whole huge spectrum of things that come out that would be kind of in, like, as we were saying, the functional way of just saying the feminine. When those ideas start coming into it, and like it just becomes something different. It's like it's changing, as everything's always changing, but it kind of takes on this new face, new meanings, new maybe not even just the face, whatever's behind the face. It's revealing something so much much wider of a spectrum. Yeah.
Are there any non-male artists that you particularly are enjoying at the moment to invite?
That's like all I listen to lately. So, yeah, I've been getting busted in the van every time my phone kind of pops up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But like definitely like grouper. Wait, does it have to be metal? Is that what you're saying?
It could be anything.
Yeah. And Ruth Rundle's awesome.
Hell yeah.
That's great.
I've been like, I don't know. I'll leave the guilty pleasures out of it. But
We love guilt.
there's tons of, you know.
Be a real warrior here and let your
Shut your
guilt out.
warrior.
Yeah.
All right. There's a band called Men I Trust from Montreal that I've been like addicted to. I can't help. And the name is interesting, actually.
Yeah.
It was it kind of turned me off at the beginning. And then
What's the name?
Men I Trust. Interesting band. It's very soft and very nice.
Right on.
Yeah. Anyway.
How about you? Is there anyone in particular?
I've been listening to Gazelle Twin a whole lot lately, which I believe is from London,
Okay.
somewhere in England, I think. I might be wrong about that. I don't know.
Amazing. Should we move on to the present?
Sure.
Pick a card. Any card. Union. 40. I'm going to read it to you. This is a very, like, musician band card. We've had no solo artists pull this one. Okay, let me find
Why
it.
did you pick that one?
Why did you pick that one?
Yeah.
So many reasons.
A cup stands at the confluence of two streams. This card stands for a coming together, a wedding or an alliance. The cup is a symbol of celebration and relationships. It's a strong card with a promise of joy and the prospect of a great river deriving from the union. It can also stand for the meaning of two up to now separate parts of the personality.
Makes me think of two things. I'll talk about the fact that we're in a two-piece band.
Yeah.
I think that it's there's always this really interesting dichotomy sort of that's present in the way, whether it's writing or performing, and I think that what's interesting about it is that, at least the most descriptive element I could think of is, at least from where I'm sitting in drum and synth land, it's like we have to decide who's leading in certain parts. Like in some parts, he'll be leading, some parts I'll be leading, and then sometimes maybe there's like this middle ground where it definitely like matches up. Maybe that's the cup.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
It's beautiful. What do you have any thoughts on that?
Can you read the description one more time?
Yeah, of course. So, a cup stands at the confluence of two streams. This card stands for a coming together, a wedding or an alliance. The cup is a symbol of celebration and relationships. It's a strong card of a promise of joy and the prospects of a great river deriving from the union. It can stand for the merging of two up to now separate parts of the personality.
Yeah, okay, I think what you said, Jesse, was perfect. That's great. And if we're making this as the present, whereas the warrior was the past and this is the present, I think that's...
It's like a peaceful union. That's really interesting.
Sure.
And the idea of like two separate parts of the personality, necessarily like conflicting parts. Becky was telling me that you are a fan of poetry, so I was wondering if you know of Keats and his idea of negative capability. The idea to be creative, you need to have two conflicting things in your mind at the same time.
I am not familiar with that, but that's as exciting.
Yes, good. Yeah, he's a great poet. But he has this idea of creativity being about like two completely different things at once being held together, and not necessarily thinking of one more than the other, and then you can get something really interesting as a result.
As interesting, kind of plays in with the idea of the poles we were just talking about, which kind of plays into the Hermetic, the Kabbalion that we kind of used in forming our the Mirror Reaper album, the full-length album, with the like just the poles of everything. There's 7 of them, yeah. But yeah, I'm trailing off again.
No, please continue the trail.
And I think I can't remember who said it, but it's a similar. It's not poetry, but the idea that sort of in harmony or when there's a stasis, it sort of represents the status quo usually, and then if in friction or conflict, that is when creativity or innovation or whatever version of that you want to take will generally happen. If people are feeling stable and like completely harmonious in whatever their setting is, that they're not likely going to be exploring the fringes of their existence.
Yeah, it inhibits growth.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I think, a lot of poets have like come through the same conclusions, and like the Romantic period, Blake says the same thing, like without constriction is no progression, like, and there have been people who say that constriction breeds creativity. So it's interesting to hear that you guys feel the same way, and that it can create something that's utterly different from where you were at the first point. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. All right. Who are your favorite poets then? Go on.
I just read a book by a guy named Dan Beachy Quick, who I believe is in Vermont. Maybe he's not. He's somewhere in New England. I'm a big fan of W.S. Merwin. I'm a big fan of Ray Armantrout. I'm a big fan of Anna Akhmatova, Cesare Amari. I just checked out a book by someone the other day. It's a French name that I'm not going to pronounce correctly. I could go on and on and on and on.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I had no idea until I was told by the lady doing your PR that this
Becky's
is like...
just rattling off all my secrets.
Well, she gave me a good in to like... But yeah, I'm a big poetry first-person guy fan, so I'm very excited to talk about that with you. I'm going to go Google every single one of those and just buy all their books and have a good summer of reading. Thank you. Do you also like read as well? Are you into that kind of thing?
I read for sure. I'm not super into poetry. I never really did, but yeah.
What kind of thing do you?
I don't know. I studied philosophy in school, so I read a shit ton of that, and then I like sci-fi stuff.
Yeah. Dune?
I love Dune.
Wheel of Time?
I just walked the Dune Interpretive Trail in Tacoma, Washington, where they just built. Yeah, Frank Herbert's from there. I live there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you like his son stuff though?
I didn't read it.
You don't need to.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I tried to get him. Was it his Children of Dune? Is that the one that he wrote?
No, Children of Dune.
That's good.
What's the one he wrote?
It's after the 6th one. So he wrote like Frank Herbert's 1 through 6, and then
I was at a Goodwill, which is like a thrift store in the U.S., and I saw one of these books, and I was like, I texted Jesse, and it's like, hey, I just found this book. You want it? He's like, that one fucking sucks. And I expected a stronger reaction from you when you were just responding to that.
Yeah, I believe that Dune is more and more relevant as time is progressing.
Yes.
But I'm also a huge Philip K. Dick fan.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever.
Every good film is like.
Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah.
Vonnegut's good.
I feel like we're stepping into a player piano moment soon.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever read that, but it's when like automation is done and humans just have nothing to do.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Have you read? Is it Alain de Botton? No, it's the Israeli guy. He did *Sapiens*. He was like, "There's going to be a useless class of humans in like 25 years because of AI and automation, and no one's going to know what to do. And like, it depends how we react to that, like how peaceful or not peaceful our future's going to be."
happen.
It could.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think that like my parents would say that our class of humans now is a useless generation.
Whoa.
I mean, they wouldn't actually say that, but I think they think it.
Shall we see what's in the future?
Uh-oh.
Who's gonna pull it?
Oh, I want to
You can
dig
both
deeper
pull one.
here.
Okay.
How's this one, Jesse?
That looks good.
You feeling that one?
There's a co-pull.
Destruction!
Oh.
Great band.
Yeah. It's basically the same logo as well.
Yeah, nice.
What number is it?
18.
18. All right.
There's a dead priest right up front with an axe wound in his forehead.
Sick. A scene of horror and carnage is depicted of a castle being stormed by medieval soldiers and a church burned. Fire, blood, and cruelty are the order of the day. Also, a woman tied to a stake, helpless. War, vandalism, wanton, and futile destruction are unfortunately part of human nature. This is reflected in Indian mythology by the goddess Kali. This card depicts the element in our collective psychology. It is therefore a fearful one that warns of the destructive side of our own nature and that of others. It has a positive side, which is that without fire, sometimes nothing new can be built.
That kind of fits into that whole idea of the stagnation inhibiting growth. And speaking of sci-fi, there's that series, which I think Netflix is making a movie of. Did I just like advertise for anyhow? A Three-Body Problem by the Chinese author. I can't remember his name.
Is it the guy who did like AI?
I don't know. But there's this like recurring theme in that series where he's talking about, or he's showing the way that humans aren't evolving past a certain point because we're not having enough conflict, whereas this alien species in this far off place has like every 7 years or something like that, the whole species gets destroyed and they have to start over and whatever. And the idea is just that they're advancing so much further and faster. If you've read the book, faster is the wrong way to put it, but they're advancing to be able to come to our planet to take it from us. And humans have to, like, in the face of this conflict of like extermination, have to buck up. Maybe that's the theme of a lot of sci-fi, but the idea of the growth being inhibited is funny.
It kind of just makes me think of all the natural disasters that are increasing currently, and that in like coniferous forests, fire is regeneration. Like shit has to catch on fire for them to grow and reseed, which isn't something I'd thought about until right now. But maybe all of our shit has to burn down so we can figure out what to do next and not fuck it all up. I'm praying for the solar flares that shut down the internet and cellular technology. I think that would help. But I think for now, unfortunately, it seems like things are just getting hotter and hotter and people are dying and things are burning. But like, I think that is going to create a call to arms as far as like humanity and realizing that shit does need to get fixed unless we want to look like the front of that card.
Yeah.
So
Some people do though.
some people do.
Yeah.
And that's their right.
Yeah. It's interesting how, like, I remember reading that some indigenous people in, like, Australia and America, they actually would do organized burning of, like, their territories, and then that was, like, outlawed and the fires got worse. So maybe that's what we need to do.
Yeah, supposedly the whole Midwest of the United States was burned in that sense to keep it as a grazing land for
California is
buffalo.
starting to adopt those practices back from the indigenous people because everything that they're doing currently is not working.
So weird how the stuff that they used to do was right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's almost like they like lived there for a while and knew what to do with the land.
Yeah. It's
Weird.
Weird. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. It was so lovely to talk with you. That was really interesting. Thank you, guys.
Right, yeah, thank you.
Anything you want to say to the camera?
Hello. Thank you. Whoa.
Nope.
Man of secrets.